Even if we assume that the symbolic me of the brain is stable, the environment of the me of the psyche is everything but not stable. Yet, the me of the brain is also changeable because it's under the influence of the anxiety and emotions, as well as under the influence of the changing me of the psyche. How to find oneself in all this? Where is the truth about who we are? The brain is an entity that we know only from reflection, and the environment is known to us only from the symbolic exchange. And there are no other sources of truth about our psyche. For what else can testify about this me if not what creates it? So the me of our brain and all the other me of the surrounding brains. And since the me of the psyche is common to all persons participating in the symbolic exchange, then there is no unique truth reserved for one person. Because there is no truth of one person, there is only the truth of symbolic exchange with the environment. And the truth is the same for all involved. They are one and the same me of the psyche, and therefore one and the same person. Of course, only at a given moment. In the new symbolic exchange, the people participating in it will be a different person again, at this moment. The conclusion is both simple and shocking. Only our vegetative physical brain exists physically. And our personality, our person, is a fiction. It exists only abstractly and has no permanent features. Our person and personality are the symbolic me equivalent to the symbolic me of the brain. Nevertheless, I know it will sound shocking. Our psyche me and our whole psyche are the psychotic creation of the brain me. Psychotic and therefore unreal, fictional. So we see that the aftermath of the anxiety was the appearance of psychosis. And the most beautiful fruit of psychosis was the appearance of the symbolic me. If this me was born out of psychosis, then it must have all its most important features, and in particular, the cardinal feature of psychosis, which is being detached from the reality, being unreal. Unreal. That's the lack of a cause and effect relationship with reality. Unreal, that's breaking the relationship with the real truth and creating a new truth, a psychotic truth that will replace the real truth. If while saying these words I have been constantly hesitating so far as to which symbolic me of the brain or of the psyche is saying these words, and which of these me is listening to them, is this not a proof of that replacement of the real truth and thus of the symbolic brain me by the psychotic truth that is the me of the psyche? Yes, this is the evidence of the unreal me of the psyche, but it is also another proof of how correct my theory about the psychotic nature of the human psyche is. The fact that I hesitated trying to establish a hierarchy between the symbolic me of both the brain and the psyche is the most understandable reflex of the me of my psyche. It's natural that the psychotic me must be the more invasive and the more aggressive in its apotheosis, the more it lacks the features of reality. The psychological me or the psychotic me cannot act otherwise. Any step backwards would mean the collapse of all symbolic existence, which is the existence of the person and the existence of the personality. The invasiveness and the aggression are, as everyone knows, the first way of defense, especially when the only one. And something that does not exist, how else can it prove its existence if not through the most aggressive propaganda about its existence? And the aggressive and the invasive apotheosis of the fictional, psychotic me of the psyche, as I have already described in my previous lectures and works, takes up our childhood time. Type 1 humanity will never get out of this psychotic me. Type 2 humanity will, in a way, emerge out of it in adolescence or a little bit later. Finally, type 3 humanity stays throughout its life in a kind of a buffer zone between the psyche types of type 1 and type 2 humanity. In its case, we are dealing with a partial recovery from the state of primary psychosis. The me of the psyche in the case of the type 3 humanity, the same as in the case of the type 2 humanity, becomes significantly realized, but the overloads in the anxiety emotional intelligence ratio are still resolved by means of the psychotic mechanisms as well as the secondary somatosis. But what does the term recovery from the primary psychosis actually mean? Since the me of the psyche is a psychotic phenomenon, would the recovery from the primary psychosis mean the loss of that me or even the loss of a momentary personality? If this was the case, only people with the primary psychosis, humanity type 1, would have a psyche, would have a personality. The facts contradict this. If all people can think, then the conclusion is obvious that they must also have a psychic me. During thinking, only the psychic me communicates with the me of the brain. Have we come to a contradiction? Since the me of the psyche is an expression of the psychosis of the brain me, then the exit from the primary psychosis should mean the disappearance of the psyche me? Or maybe it's possible to get out of the primary psychosis while maintaining the me of the psyche? So things are as follows. You cannot get out of the primary psychosis without abandoning the psychotic me of the psyche. This is a key moment that determines whether we will be able to mature and recover from the primary psychosis at the end of childhood and adolescence, or we will remain forever mentally childish and immature. But how can one get rid of the me of the psyche? To abandon the me of the psyche means to relativize the symbolic phenomenon of the me of the psyche. It means to distance yourself as much as possible from the me of your psyche. The bigger the distance, the bigger the psychological maturity. The bigger the distance, the more certain the exit from the primary psychosis.